How does Green Salon Collective recycle your hair? There are three main elements when it comes to hair recycling with Green Salon Collective: hair booms, gardening and composting, and also our new research and development section. I also, in this video, have a personal challenge for all of you watching this that you can do at home. So first and foremost, hair booms. What is a hair boom? I'm sure you've seen pictures of them, you may have seen us using them on TV, in newspapers, but where do they come from? How do you make them? And what do you do with them? Hair booms came from North America in the late 80s and early 90s by an American hairdresser called Phil McCoy. There was a huge oil spill off the coast of where he was living in America. And one evening when he was watching the evening news, he noticed that the wildlife coming out of the water, all of their fur and their feathers were completely drenched in this oil. And he started to think about this as a hairdresser, because we all know as hairdressers that hair will absorb oil. I guess you don't even need to be a hairdresser to know that once hair's oily, it's oily. You can't just rinse oil out of hair with water. It needs a shampoo to be removed. Think about if you went into a salon with oily, greasy hair, or you were a stylist and your client had oily, greasy hair. If you were at the basin and you were only using water on your client, would the hair still be oily and greasy? Of course it would. So it was this theory that got Phil thinking, well, perhaps then I can use my hair to remove the oil from the water. So he thought to himself, how can I do this without the hair just dissipating and falling apart? He needed a carrier of the hair. So he decided to use his wife's tights, her stockings. He took all of the haircuts from the salon that day. He cut the legs off of his wife's tights and stockings, and he tightly packed these stockings. He created what is known as a hair boom. You've probably seen the pictures of them, and Green Salon Collective use them quite regularly as well. He took this hair boom out into the ocean, and sure enough, he could use this boom to stop the oil from spreading further, but also using it like a sponge to remove oil from the water. So it became a campaign. Hairdressers across the country would gather hair, not just human hair, but animal hair. They would tightly stuff these tights and stockings, and they could protect their wildlife, the shoreline, and stop this oil from coming in further. Hair booms are a fantastic way of reusing a material that otherwise would have gone to landfill. At Green Salon Collective, everything we do is based on this circular economy model. So we take single-use items like hair, which is used, cut, goes to landfill, and we use them for exciting projects like hair booms. And we love hair booms for this reason, because you can use hair booms again and again and again. There are some reports that say you can use hair booms up to 100 times, because they work essentially like a sponge. Once you've removed the oil, brought the hair boom to land, you can squeeze the boom to remove some of that oil, and you can use them again and again and again. Once your boom is finished, or you've finished with it, you can even use it in compost. So for your gardening, if you're growing your flowers and flower beds, you can even use the leftover hair boom in that kind of situation. So when you've finished with your boom and you've used it again and again and again, you can actually even compost your boom. So that hair with the oil can be put into compost in your garden to grow, help grow flowers and plants. But we wouldn't use or recommend it for growing food, but it can certainly become part of your composting. So how do you make a hair boom? Well, it's actually quite easy. We've moved on now from cutting up tights and stockings, and we use more of a cotton or a nylon tube. Something that's lightweight, something that's natural. When creating hair booms, at Green Salon Collective, we generally will use this material here. So it's a natural cotton material, has a little bit of give in it, and we have rolls of this 50, 100 meters long. Ideally, you only want your hair boom to be about 1 meter long, because when you're in the water, you need to be able to comfortably hold the boom. You need to be able to move and manipulate the oil and help the hair to absorb it. You could create a boom that was 20 or 30 meters long, but you need to be able to move the thing, so you need several people holding onto it or attach it to something. So today we're going to film a mini scaled down version of an oil spill. We've got a tank of water, we're going to add some oil, and we're going to show you how a hair boom works. So rather than making one that's really big, we're just going to make a mini one that's about this size, and then you'll get to see it in action. As you can see from the video, the hair slowly starts to absorb the oil, and you can clearly see how clean the water is on one side of the booms compared to the other. And this simulation is exactly what it's like when we're in rivers or weirs or oceans doing our oil spill cleanups. Now at Green Salon Collective, we were in a position recently in May of 2021 where we were able to get into the water with our hair booms and clean up an oil spill. In Northern Ireland, there was farming land that was leaking red diesel oil into the ocean. It was a high tide, so a lot of the oil was being swept away and sort of dissipated within the water, which is not what we want. We needed to get the oil out of the water as fast as possible. When we found out about the spill, within half an hour, we were on site with our hair booms in the water, cleaning this oil out of the water and bringing it back onto land. Where the oil spill happened, down the peninsula of Northern Ireland, there was lots of rocks that were sticking out. And in these areas was quite a large amount of trapped red diesel oil. In this particular operation, we used in the region of 30 to 50 kilograms of hair. We had approximately 10 to 20 booms that were about this size, and it was really awesome to see them in action and see them making a positive impact on our environment. We don't have to wait around for oil spills like this to use hair booms. We've used them in rivers and weirs and waterways all across UK and Ireland, just to remove surface level pollutants. I'm sure you've all seen at some point that sort of brown or green, fuzzy, bubbly pollutant scum area. Well, hair booms are awesome for cleaning up those areas as well. You can get in on a paddleboard, you can wade in if you're tall enough or the water is shallow enough. You can take your booms and you can slowly close in, like you saw in the video, close in on the area, isolate the area and let the booms do their work. So hair booms, I think, are a wonderful tool that we have. It's amazing to share these stories with you, and it's really important that you share these stories with others as well. As I said, it's not just hair booms that we use your hair for. We also use it for gardening and composting, which is what we're going to talk about next. When it comes to gardening and composting, you can even do this in your own home. You don't even need a garden. You can be in a small flat, you can still do what I'm going to show you next. Most of us have little potted plants around the home like this. If we put hair in this soil, your plants will grow better with less water. If you was to ever water to your plant too much, you're actually removing nutrients from the soil. By having a layer of hair in with your plant, your hair will absorb that moisture, it will trap those nutrients, and it will feed them back up into the soil. So as my challenge to you, I want you to take your next haircut home and use it around the house. And this is all you need to do. Take your potted plant, remove it from the pot. So typically it will be like this. Take your haircut. Let's put this down here for me. I'm going to take some hair from here. Okay, it's probably a bit more than I would have on my average haircut. So first of all, I'm going to put some of this in the bottom of the pot. And then I'm just going to break up the soil a little bit. So we want to create holes and gaps for the hair to stick into when we put it back into the pot. So if we give that a bit of a twist, pat it down, we'll give it a bit of water too. There we go. How easy was that? Now what will happen over time is that hair will start to break down and become part of the soil. And as I said, by doing that, you're essentially fertilizing your plants. So for your next haircut, take it home, put it in your pot plants. The third element of recycling hair is research and development. I'm really excited to tell you that Green Salon Collective are launching our very own research and development platform. Working with materials researchers and a prestigious university in England, the whole project is going to be headed up by Stephanie from Meet the Fibers. We have some incredible projects in place with these material researchers, the university and Stephanie. We cannot wait to share these with you. Stay tuned for more details. I hope you've enjoyed learning about what we do with your hair at Green Salon Collective. Stay tuned because there's going to be much more to come in the future.